What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Unfiltered Waters. Today, I am hype. I'm always hype for Wednesdays, but today I'm extra hype because Misty and I got to interview one of our idols. We have the incredible Kerri Walsh Jennings. Kerri is a 3-time Olympic gold medalist in beach volleyball. She is a 5-time Olympian, and she is the beach volleyball leader in career victories as of 2016, having won 135 international and domestic tournaments. We cover it all today. We talk about Kerri's experience at each of her 5 Olympics. They all differ so much. We talk about her relationship with Misty May Treanor and how it shaped her as a person. We talk about her relationship with her husband. We talk about her kids and everything in between. It's an incredible episode, and I cannot wait for you all to watch and listen. So without further ado, Kerri Walsh Jennings.
This podcast is a Cannonball Media production.
Hey everyone, we just wanted to give a super special shout out to our amazing production staff over at Cannonball Media. We have an amazing team behind this podcast, and we couldn't do it without them. So thank you so much for all of your help.
If you're looking to start your own podcast, they take care of everything from A to Z. So reach out to cannonballmedia.co.
We want to take a minute and shout out one of our very special sponsors, Little Words Project. As you guys are now well aware, we ask our guests at the end of every episode what their word is, what the word is that is motivating them, encouraging them, something that they're working towards. And we actually get to send each of our guests their own personalized Little Words Project bracelet to have as a wearable affirmation of what their word is as each of our guests is fighting for their incredible dreams.
These bracelets make incredible gifts, so whether you're looking to treat yourself or treat your loved ones, Missy and I wear ours, many of them, every single day. So go shopping at littlewordsproject.com.
Hello, everyone. Today, I'm nervous for this one because we have someone on the podcast who is truly one of my personal heroes.
Yeah.
I know one of your personal heroes, Katie. And
I don't know if you know that, Kerri, but
oh my gosh, we are so beyond welcome. I mean, Kerri Walsh Jennings, like one of the most iconic Olympic athletes, most iconic women of all time. You are here on Unfiltered Waters, and I feel like I need to pinch myself.
Oh, Missy, you're so cute. You're always so kind, and it always hits my heart. So thank you both for that. I literally don't know what to do with that. I would say thank you, and it just makes me want to be better. So I appreciate you guys seeing me through lovely perspective, because the flip side exists as well.
As we very well know.
Yeah, when I told Missy, when I found out that you said yes and you were going to come on the podcast, the first word that comes to mind when I think of you is just grace. And I know that we're bad at accepting compliments, so I know it's probably hard for you to hear all these things, but they're all true, and that's the first word I always think of.
That's so kind. It's so interesting, because that's the last thing I think I am. And grace and composure is what I aspire to in my life, and no. So thank you. That means it's in me, and that means I can foster it, and I look forward to that. So thank you. I'm 45, so grace is going to come in at some point.
Grace is there, but I get it. You never know how people view you, and so it's always so amazing to hear what others think of you, and usually it's more than you think of yourself, which we'll talk about today. But Kerri, I think the last time I actually saw you in the flesh, it was a torrential downpour in 2008, and I was watching you win gold against the Chinese.
You were there?
Michael Lynch from Visa took me.
Oh, how fun.
And that's all I want. I was like, I don't care. Swimming's done. I just want to see them crush and win gold. And yeah, it was, I remember just having the poncho and being hunkered down and just being screaming my head off for you guys. It was so legendary.
Well, that's so rad you were there. That was very poignant. The rain made it just so much more dramatic, and it felt like a movie. And I'm so happy you were there. It was so special. And it was way easier for us to play in that rain than for you guys to sit in it. So we got out easy on that one.
Debatable.
I don't know about that, but it was honestly, I was like, I don't care if it's hailing right now. I am here, I am planted, I am in this with them. So it was so
Michael
cool
Lynch
to see.
From Visa, I think he's moved on from Visa since then, but he was so wonderful in my career, and certainly helped me with sponsorships and like supporting my dreams. And so I love that you were on the team with him because, you know, as Olympians, like we need people like that to believe in us and support us. Otherwise, we're working 3 jobs and trying to be the best in the world. And that's really hard.
Yes.
Oh, it's so true. And my gosh, we were talking about the best way that we could approach this conversation, because to have someone of your longevity and your standing on here, we just are so excited to have this conversation. And what we kind of settled on, if it's okay with you, is almost backtracking and going through your Olympics one by one. And kind of reminiscing on some of your greatest takeaways, your positive moments, your biggest, you know, maybe disappointments from each of those games, and how it's led to the Kerri that's sitting here talking to us today. Does that sound okay?
I mean, that sounds like a lot of fun.
Perfect. We thought so too.
What a treat to relive such amazing journeys, for sure.
Amazing. Oh my gosh. Okay, perfect. So we will go back all the way to 2000.
Yes.
You were 22 years old and you were playing indoor volleyball. Yeah. And you guys walked away in 4th, which is incredible. You were competing at Stanford. And so let's go all the way back 24 years ago to that first Olympic experience for you at 22. How was that? Were there nerves? Was there excitement? And what was it like, you know, coming off of a college career and playing on a level like that?
You know, it was pretty interesting, my first Olympic experience. So I had just finished my college season at Stanford. Volleyball plays in the fall. And I went in December to go try out for the national team to see if I can have a chance at the Olympics. And so I left school. I had 2 more quarters left. So I left school early, went and tried out. And my shoulder was so bad that the first, I think, 3 months I was trying out, I couldn't take a swing. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to make this team, because like that's my bread and butter, you know? And so I just, every day I did therapy, every day I just did so much just to try to have the coaching staff and the team see me like that I brought value, even though I wasn't able to hit yet. And so that was really, really stressful, just because the team was so stacked and so great. And I wanted to make the team so badly. But made the team. The month before the Olympic Games, I blew out my ankle. We were playing in the Grand Prix in China, and this girl came under, and my ankle went boom, 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 like tore everything, broke things, like went and got a X-ray in China, which was an adventure. And my physio, when he's reading the images, he's like, Kerri, why didn't you tell me? And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, you have so many fractures, hairline fractures in the bottom of your foot. Like, this doesn't just show up because you hurt your ankle. Like, you've had this. And I'm like, fuck, I didn't know. So it was kind of funny, but that set me on a trajectory before Sydney I was just doing rehab. Like, they would wake me up in the middle of the night to do rehab. I would do it every 4 hours, like all day long in the lead up to Sydney. And we got to Sydney, and I was able to play. I was able to start training. I was definitely ginger on my left ankle, but made the starting lineup, ready to go. Literally 20 minutes before our first match, getting ready to start, we're in the tunnel. I get pulled aside and they say, Kerri, you can't play. And I was like, what? Come again. They said, you had a positive doping test.
Wait.
And we know you're innocent, but we can't risk it. You can't play. That's all they told me. And so I went from getting ready to start to being pulled aside, and they said, don't talk to anybody.
My gosh. Did your heart just fall out of your stomach?
I mean, that's an athlete's worst nightmare.
Yeah.
Worst nightmare. So confused. Literally, you know how when you get confused, you just walk in circles, be like, what do I do?
Yeah.
Yes.
What am I doing? So
I trying to process.
Just lived in that space. Yeah. And so after the game, they told me what was going on. They say, you tested positive for testosterone. I was like, well, look at me. I weigh 5 pounds. There's just no way. But they said if it's naturally occurring in your body, then you're good to go. But we can't take the risk. You need to go home. And I was like, what are you talking about? There's no way, And so they're like, well, we can't even talk to you, USOC, or my federation, because it's a conflict of interest. And I was like, wait, you can't even help me here. What's happening? And so, so sad. And the hardest thing I think was they're like, do not tell your teammates. Tell your teammates it's your ankle. And I was like,
That's terrible to have to keep that inside.
so sad. So everyone's like, what's wrong with Kerri? Because usually I'm happy and I got some Missy in me and I'm like bouncing around and, and I was just so sad and quiet and confused, but still training. And so anyhow, so long story short, my mom finds a scientist and she digs up my past labs. And apparently this is something naturally in my body where my epitestosterone is so low that it makes the ratio look like I have high testosterone if you don't read it right. And so it's naturally in my body. I had many, many tests that said that. And this was the first one that was highlighted. And so I missed the first, I think 2, maybe 3 matches. And then I think 3 matches, and then I was able to play because my mom busted her ass, got me.
I mean, if that's not the most mom thing ever,
yeah,
that sounds like something
Moms
my
who
mom
do
would. Yeah, it's
research.
like they will do whatever it takes. Like if something is standing in their daughter's way, nope, not for long.
Oh my God, it was crazy. We would have midnight meetings, and John, oh my God, I love him so much. The ombudsman at the time, that's the hardest word to say. John Ruger, he actually was the athlete ombudsman, and his job was to support the athletes in weird things, and he was actually a saint. And so him and my mom worked together. But my mom found a chemist in Australia. She found all these scientists to help us. And so my first Olympics, once I started playing, it was awesome. Definitely sad, definitely heartbroken because I felt like my federation was like, we can't help you. We don't want to help you. We can't, and that was literally heartbreaking. But it set me up for a move down the road. So able to play, made it to the semifinals. Winner goes to gold, loser goes to bronze. We lost in 5 to Russia, who was, best team in the world at the time. It was such an amazing match. Can't even be sad about it because we played so well. And then we got our butts kicked by Brazil for the bronze. So sad. and that set up this really big desire to go back to the games, B, to realize how amazing it is to represent your country. And, you guys know, all the kind of pageantry you go through and how special it is to wear that flag. Mm-hmm. And C, I'm like, well, winning 4th is not what I want. I want to go and I want a medal, and so those were some poignant takeaways that led me to beach volleyball. But the thing that led me to beach volleyball, which I started almost immediately, was the broken heart from the politics in my federation,
Oh, wow.
I would have never known that.
I would have never known that either. Wow. It was just meant to be. I mean, heartbreaking in the moment, but meant to be.
Now when my heart breaks, I'm like, oh, it's kind of exciting because something good's coming. Even though
I love that. That's such a good perspective to have. Now, did you meet with Misty almost immediately, or how did you two initially become teammates?
So fun. I love this question because our parents were like the little matchmakers. So Misty was playing in Sydney in 2000, playing beach volleyball. And she played with Holly McPeak, legend, and they finished 5th. And Misty was, already she was 22, one of the best players in the world. And our parents got together at, I think, the AT&T house in Sydney, and they were grabbing snacks, but, whatever. And they met each other, and they were familiar with each other because Misty and I played juniors against each other, and then college, Long Beach versus Stanford. And so they started talking, and Misty's parents were like, hey, we should get the girls together after the games and just see if Kerri would want to try beach volleyball. Because Misty is playing with Holly, who's amazing, but she really wants to grow in the game with someone more her age who she can learn the ropes with. And my parents were like, well, that's genius. So after I got back from Sydney, my parents kind of proposed that idea to me. And it was like Misty is Jordan to me still. But when, being this woman, I mean, I got her autograph when I was 14. She was 15. We beat her a couple times in juniors in high school. And I cried because I'm like, how do you beat your idol? Misty was everything to me. Anytime I had any time off and Misty was playing, I'd go watch her to learn from her greatness, So my parents put me in this position where I was able to, I went back to school. I drove down Highway 5, just daydreaming of playing with my idol. And we had this 1-day tryout in Huntington Beach. And
how nervous were you? Were you freaking out?
Oh my God. I could hear my heart out of my body. And when you look down, you can see your clothes, before you give a speech or something, Yes. That was happening for 5 hours on the drive down. And that morning, I spent the night down there. That morning, I just I could barely breathe. And I had never really experienced that before, because I was always kind of in my environment. I certainly had moments of being uncomfortable, but this was like fish out of water, because my whole life, even though I grew up in California near Santa Cruz, you have a beach out here, I would never play beach volleyball. Like my ego would not let me try something new because I was like Bambi and I would look like an idiot. And so to go from that mindset to go and try out with the best player in the world, that took some cojones and major encouragement from my parents.
And I don't know, I've done beach volleyball not well, like really, really badly, but I've never played indoor. Like, can you talk about the main differences, like the top 3 differences for people who haven't had the experience?
Yeah. So I think one of the main ones obviously is a surface, indoor volleyball, you're playing on hardwood or sport court. And so it's really easy to move, because there's no resistance. On the sand, you go to move, jump, whatever, and the sand goes away. So there's that displacement. So that messes with your timing. And your ego, because you're like, wait, I used to be able to jump and now I can't. And so that's one thing. The other one is you go from having a team of 6 to a team of 2. So, you're just way more accountable. Like you touch every other ball. Whereas in indoor, you can literally, if you're having a tough game, they can hide you in the corner, or you just have your more of a position that you do. I'm an outside hitter. I pass and I hit. On the beach, you have to do everything. You just have to. So that's a big one as well. And then for me, the last one was just the elements, the wind, especially when you're transitioning. Like the wind, now it's like one of my favorite things to work with because I understand it. But in the beginning, like I would go and I would set it, which felt like a perfect set, and it would drift. You're like, wait, no, that was where it needed to be. It's so humbling, because it's Mother Nature. It's like, what are you going to do except for fall in love with it eventually and learn from it? Excuse me. But so those are the 3 ones, and all of those are really hard, ladies, because it's just like, it just makes you question yourself because the differences are just big. Like the 2 to 6 teammate thing is kind of a big deal, but the other ones, like, it's like there's very subtle differences. It's like death by 1,000 paper cuts. You're like, God, it's so close, but it's not. And then for me, it made me question myself a lot. And the whole first year with Misty, we lost a lot of very close matches. And it was all my fault because of stuff like that I was just time in the saddle. You need those reps. It's not necessarily instinctive knowing how to play with the wind.
No, of course not. And I mean, I know probably at that time it was really hard for you to give yourself grace, but you did have the courage to go and not only try something that was new to you, but to do it with one of the best in the world at the time, which, oh my gosh, the bravery that must have took. I mean, I know Katie and I, and just starting the podcast,
oh my God.
We're starting from scratch here, and it's so intimidating to try something new for the first time. And so just that in and of itself is so inspirational. And the fact that, your parents were the ones that brought you guys together.
I love that. I did not know that.
So cute. When did you 2 realize, like, oh, we've got something here?
Well, first of all, I want to go back to you starting the podcast, because that requires significant courage and bravery because you're so visible, and it's like your heart, like it's different when you're competing because you can kind of, tune out the rest. But I just applaud you guys because
thank you.
You're going to get feedback, and not all of it's going to be what you want to hear, and that's gotta hurt, But I know you being athletes and amazing humans, it's all going to serve you. But I just want to give you kudos because that's not easy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we've definitely. You said, there's some things that are my fault. I'm not going to speak for you, but yeah, we've gone through some stuff already.
And it's still something we're working with too. Like, I think Katie and I are both really good at taking constructive criticism. Yeah. It's just sometimes criticism is not always given in a constructive or intentional manner. And I think it's hard, no matter how often you have to take it as a human being. I think it's just hard to deal with that. But then we get the good comments and the messages that literally make it all worth it. We
also, similar to you had with Misty, like we are a team. So if something happens or there's a comment that said, we have each other to be like, do you think is that legitimate? Do we need to take that into account?
How do we feel about this?
Are you crying right now? Do I need to call you?
Dude, it's so fun being on a team, and a team of 2 in particular is so special. Yeah. Like, it requires all of you to show up and be so accountable, and yet this level of vulnerability and reliance upon the partner. That's why I love beach volleyball so much, because to me it was the ultimate team sport. It's like you can't hide. You have to be open. You have to be strong, and you have to show up together. And that was so fun. But I want to say something about feedback. And I heard this quote, and it literally was such a powerful one for me. They say the difference between criticism and feedback is the way you hear it. So that's just like an invitation. Like, it's up to you. How are you going to hear it? Like, I know, and I totally know that does not dismiss people's a-hole tones or like ridiculous statements. But hopefully those are few and far between. But that really helped me because I certainly get defensive, and I want to explain my point when I'm just like, I don't need to take it personally. First of all, motherhood has taught me that, dealing with teenagers. But second of all, it's like, all right, it is what it is. They're allowed their viewpoint, and I can do what I want with it.
Yeah,
exactly.
Such a good reminder. And that team aspect of it is so crucial. And I know having a good teammate changes everything. So going back to you and Misty and going into, was it Athens in 2004?
Yeah.
How did you guys feel going into that? And I think one thing we wanted to ask you about too, we're coming up on Olympic trials for swimming in June. And a lot of our viewers we know are in the swimming community, but we would love to hear about what the process is like for choosing the Olympians for beach volleyball as well, if you wouldn't mind educating us a little bit on that.
Yeah, so different, night and day different than what you guys go through, as far as my understanding. So we don't have a trials, even though our federation and I think USOC wants us to have a trials. In my opinion, that would severely hurt our sport because you guys race the clock, right? For all intents and purposes, right? Certainly other amazing athletes, but the clock is kind of your ultimate judge, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
So for us, you have to play China and Brazil and Germany and know how you fare against them in order to go to the Olympics, in my opinion. Because if you play against them consistently during the qualifying period, then you're going to show up to the Olympics well prepared. At trials that happen in America, USA versus USA to determine who goes, has no bearing,
That makes sense.
because it's not the world. And so to me, it's a very hard no for me, even though I know it would bring money and attention to our game, which we need. So basically the qualification process is so different than you guys. So it's a 1.5-year process.
Wow.
Yeah. So it started for us in 2023, say January, and it goes through June of 2024. Right. So a couple months before the Olympics, that's the cutoff. And basically they take your 12 best finishes on the world tour. And if your 12 best finishes put you in the top 16 in the world, then you qualify. But only 2 teams per country go. So if you're the third team, like I was the third team in Tokyo for the Olympics and we were 8th in the world, even though we were top 16, we were the third USA team, we didn't go. So there's that kind of difference, right? Which is great because you don't want it to be all America versus all Brazil or Germany in the Olympics. Like you want that representation, So basically what you do for that 1.5 years is that you play in every single tournament that you can to accrue points and great finishes. And you hope to be in the top 16. If you're not in the top 16 because there's 24 teams in the Olympic Games, then there's other ways to qualify like NORCECA, the North American tour you can play on. And it's called continental qualifying. But generally, USA is so strong that we always qualify in the top 16, those 2 spots. So
is there a scenario where you're sitting there for a week and waiting for competitions to wrap up and it's just a phone call?
Usually it's like at the final competition, depending on your finishes. So if you, like for us, like Brooke and I for Tokyo were in the lead the first year and 2 months. And then we played like dog crap coming back after so bad after COVID. And this other team they won. And then they got third. And then they, and so it kind of came down to we had to win the last tournament we played in order to go. And so we put ourselves in a tough situation. So it's pretty amazing because at the last tournament, ladies, you will hear people freak out like you're playing. And then you'll hear people 4 courts down freak out because they just won what they had to win. Or you'll see people bawling because the team won what they had to win. And that means they're out. So it's pretty intense. And so for Misty and I, the beauty of us is that our goal was to qualify in year 1. Right. So we wanted to bust our ass and win as many tournaments always. But certainly year 1 was a focus. So that year 2, we can just focus on getting better and refining. And we always had that luxury, which was pretty incredible. So yeah, so fun.
Oh my gosh, that's so
I had
different.
no
And
idea.
I know we can completely relate to the courts, some people cheering and then other people crying. So for swimming, there's like the infamous third spot at Olympic trials. So in most events, they take the top two. And then there's that third spot where you have athletes that are missing out on the team by literal hundredths of a second. And it's just like the most heartbreaking thing ever. And it's that emotional roller coaster of like, you see people making the team and you're so excited. And then you see people not making the team and you're so disappointed. And it's just like so brutal. So when you guys realized you had made the team, you got the phone call and realized you were on your way to the games, did you go in there? I feel like I know this answer because I know you, with the intention of winning gold, even though it was going to be your first time playing beach at the Olympics?
I mean, yes. Of
Yes.
course.
Yeah. This is why I love you.
But because, I want to go back to your other question that I'm so sorry I just talked so much.
No,
Your
I
other
love it.
question was, when did you know you had something special with Misty, right? On that very first day, that very first tryout at Huntington Beach, like there was some magic there and we just kind of danced. And when you're playing volleyball, indoor beach, and you're playing well, you're dancing. And it feels so in rhythm and on point and on time. And we had that, even though I was so green and so nervous and such a rookie. Like that was very apparent on that day one. And then we just continued to build on that. But so our first 2 years, we lost a lot of matches that, we could have, should have won because of my greenery and us becoming a team, really. It's not all my fault, but, we were becoming a team. And we lost so often to this Brazilian team the first 2 years. Oh my gosh, Sandra and Ana Paula. And they were just there. I'm like, oh my gosh, we're little girls and they're women. Like they're Brazilian. So they're like kind of scary and fiery and, different and like exotic and amazing. And they were so beautiful and amazing and great competitors. And so we just kept losing to this team the first 2 years, but we became the number one team in the world the first year of qualifying. And it was incredible. And that the greatness of Brazil and the other American teams in the quad of 2004, it sharpened us so much because it was just every weekend. Like we have championships every weekend. So if you lose, you feel like you're a loser. It's not like a season where you play a league and then you get playoffs and these things. It's like we have a championship every weekend. And we got really sick of losing. And so we just started winning and we never looked back. So when it came time for Athens, which was so special, and I know you guys, it's so special, like the birthplace of the Olympics. And we were staying on the Queen Mary 2 with the USA basketball boys. So you'd see these freaking legends walking around.
You guys were on that?
Yes.
The swimmers did not get to do that. I was always so jealous. I'm like, the basketball players. Well, you guys too.
It was so dope. We were in an elevator with Allen Iverson and Tim Duncan. I was like, what is this world I'm living in? So good. And they were so rad. And I know hopefully you guys have engaged with them, during the Olympics, because it's so cool when they visit the village. Like they're so geeked and they're so hyped to represent Team USA. And that was always so meaningful to me because their league far surpasses the Olympics and what you get from it, but the pride of representing the country. And they felt that. And I really loved that so much. But yes, Queen Mary 2 is incredible. So we went into Athens expecting to kick ass. Misty tore her ab like a month before, and she tore it. Like when Misty gets hurt, she really gets hurt. She's so cute. And she probably, outside of my mom, she's the toughest woman I know. And so when Misty's hurting, it's intense. And so that was a little bit of you're kind of talk about the goods and the bads and what you learned from each Olympics. Like Misty got hurt. I was stressed. My camp was like, Kerri, what if she can't get back? You need to find another partner, blah, blah, blah. And I would talk to Misty, Misty, how are you feeling? And Misty is so quiet and she keeps things to herself. She'd be like, I'm good. I'd be like, can you elaborate?
Yeah. Are you good?
What does that mean? And, but she worked so hard. So my soul knew there was nothing to worry about because Misty, we each trust each other so much. This was our first games, certainly my first go around. And one doubt I have was I did have a week of doubt. Do I need to take care of myself here? And that's not who I am. I think that's a very human thought. And I think it's even a reasonable thought. But it hurts my heart that I did that. because Misty's my girl and I didn't want to do it with anyone else, and we earned it. And so, but that month when she was hurt, I played with my dear friend, Rachel Wachholder at the time, Rachel Scott now, and we won. And we kicked ass. And it was so beautiful because it just prepared me for when Misty was back, and then we were gangbusters.
And what was Misty saying? Like, she's obviously hurt. I'm sure she had her own doubts. Is she just like, no, I'm playing? Or is she also sharing with you, like, I don't know, I'm nervous. This might not go well?
No, I think it was never a doubt in her mind, which gave me so much assurance. It was just literally the lack of follow-up of I'm good. That's what made me doubt. But it's so Misty. Like, if you know Misty, A, you love her, and B, she's just a woman of few words, but she does not lie. She doesn't exaggerate. And she had this ab injury before, and she crushed it, because it was so deep. And she had the best people around her. And so I knew the situation, even if she wasn't going to go deep into explanation. Like, I knew the situation. I knew Misty. And it was just part of our journey, and it definitely brought me a lesson of, dude, you got to talk to your girl. You got to stay connected, but trust, and that's why Misty won and I won for so long, because there was that deep level of trust. And I think that was part of us building that.
Yeah. I always watch, people ask me, like, what's the sport that you love watching the most? And I always say beach volleyball. And I'm so curious of what you all are saying before the match. There's so much time in between. Like, is it just positive affirmation? Are you strategizing? Like, what's the behind the scenes mic'd up version of what's happening?
Well, you would need earmuffs, Katie.
I love that, though. I love that. We can bleep it out. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, I have the worst mouth, like, ever. It started in college, and my college coach my freshman year was like, Kerri, people can read lips. I was like, oh my God, you're right. But it's in me. Every Lent, I give up swearing for Lent, and it's just impossible. But when I'm playing, it's like next level. So it was just so funny, because I would, say the worst words ever, and Misty would be like, oh, fart. Oh, sugar. I'm like, what?
I feel like there's a little bit of a dynamic of like Misty in things that are being said, and me and you, because like, even if Missy was like on her deathbed and it meant not being able to come record she'd be like, no, I'm good. I can crawl there. Like, that is exactly what would happen.
That is a very meaningful comparison. I really appreciate that. Thank you. I will take being compared to Misty any day. That is one of the greatest compliments I could ever receive.
When I get called Misty, and just every day of my life, I'm like, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll take it. That's so funny. Yeah, and that dynamic is so important, because two Kerris, like, the world would explode. Like, we need difference, and that's why it was so special, and that's why you guys probably work so well together. So wait, the inner dialogue, it's a lot of, we got this, let's go, what do you think when they set back, what do you want to do? Who do you want to serve here? Let's fucking go. Let's, like, I will be inappropriate and like, try to say something funny and break the ice. Misty's just like, yeah. Remember at one time out, and this is fast forwarding to Rio, in the qualifying for Rio, I remember we were in this tournament April night, and we were crushing it. And I like had nothing to say. And April's like, do you want to meditate? And I was like, oh, yes, I do.
What a great idea.
Genius.
That's an option.
So she's like, doing her thing with her triangle and like focusing. And in retrospect, I realized that she was trying to do that like in every time out, like focus through her triangle. And I was just talking. I didn't hear a word I said. But I think all of my partners know that if I don't talk, my head will blow up. So it's a lot of me talking. And then the first games, you guys, it was just like, I've said this a billion times because it's just true to me, is that it was like kids in a candy store, like Christmas Eve, Christmas morning. Like, it was just so fun. And we were so together. Our coach, Dane Selznick, was incredible. We felt so prepared. We felt so confident. We had our semifinal match was the most intense because we played the other USA team. And when you compete against another team from your country, you're like, well, we want to be number one. Like, there's just added drama and dynamics. And we had played them so much, not only in the world tour, but on our domestic tour on the AVP at the time. And so we were almost sick of playing each other. But every time we played each other, it was a battle. So for me, when we won that semifinal match against Elaine Youngs and Holly McPeak, Misty's former partner, I'm like, we got this. I don't care who we play in the finals. We got this. Like, we just survived a very stressful environment and we kicked ass. And so the next night we played Brazil, the number 2 team in the world, Adriana and Shelda, legends. We were comfortable and we just let it rip. To me, like, I've done a lot of work with performance psychologists. That's my Sundance. He's going to go skiing right now.
Have a good ski trip.
A lot of work, my performance psychologist, and what I learned throughout going to 5 games is just like the hard work, in my opinion, is done before in the qualifying, because you guys know how stressful it is, right? And it's like you're fortifying yourself, you're going through the ups and downs, you're becoming a team, and then my ideal situation is when you get to the Olympics, you just play. Like, you have so much fun and you just let it rip. And every single Olympic scenario for 5 of them, 4, we'll say on the beach, were like that for me. And so Athens was so pure. The expectation was to win, but we didn't have we weren't trying to repeat. We weren't trying to do what had never been done before. We just wanted to win. And we played very freely, which was such a gift.
That is so powerful. Yeah. And I know you and I know your mindset. So how long after winning that first gold medal did it take for you to think or say to Misty, okay, let's get ready to do it again? I
mean, it was so immediate. It was so immediate. You know what? And I was in love. And Misty was in love. And so I certainly wanted kids, but I was 20. So I had my birthday at every Olympics. So I turned 22 in Sydney. I was 26 in Athens, in Athens. And I was deeply in love, and I got engaged a month after the games in 2000. No, a year after the games. And so, when I got engaged, I was like, okay, I'm going to have a baby and then I'm going to come back for Beijing. Right. And
I love that wasn't even like a second thought to you. You were like, yeah, this is just like an obvious. I'm going to do it.
Yeah. It's like, I'll have this baby and then I will become a 3-time Olympian.
Oh my God. It was so fun. Because my mom did it. Like, not that she was an Olympian, but she was an Olympian in her own way. And she had 8 kids and worked the whole time. And she just made it look easy. And I'm like, well, I'm going to be like that. I'm her daughter, And so once I got married, which was, oh my God, when did I get married? Was end of 2005. I told Misty, I was like, Miss, I'm going to get pregnant. Like, that's my number one goal. Right. And so we had the year after the Athens games. We both had a great season together. She got married. I got engaged, got married at the end of the year. And then I was like, I want to have babies. And she's like, okay, this is probably good, because it started to get a little bit weird between us, because people wanted Misty to play with this woman, Elaine Youngs, who is incredible. And every weekend and every situation was like, Miss, you should go play with Kerri, with Elaine. Like, just leave Kerri, go play with Elaine, and Kerri, you should play with Rachel, my dear friend. And at some point halfway through the season, I was like, Misty, I can't do this. Like, are we together? Are we not? This is crazy. But
why were people saying that?
Because they hated us winning all the time.
Oh,
and I just and it's human nature, and it was what it was. But that scenario that I just said was actually when I told Misty I wanted to get pregnant. So I got pregnant and I had a miscarriage. And so early 2006, I had a miscarriage, and Misty was like, once I got pregnant, I was like, Misty, I'm going to get pregnant and I want to play until September, and then you can get a new partner and I'll be back by May. I had
that tight timeline.
But I very tight. It wasn't that ridiculous, but I'd get pregnant and I'd come back right away. And I told her this, and she's like, okay. She's like, I'll get a new partner and whatever. But when I had my miscarriage, I was like, we're together, of course, right? And I think, once you start thinking about something else, I think she did. She had started thinking about something else. And the way with my miscarriage, they said, Kerri, you can either wait a year and try to get pregnant again, or if you try again right now, it could be cancerous, because just the way it happened. And so I was like, well, hell, we're already, a couple years into the quad. I want to go to Beijing. I'm going to decide to put my family on hold so I can try to, repeat. And so that, I think, really shook Misty up, because I went from, trying to do this to we're back together again immediately, which caused some friction. And then for me, it then became, if I'm not having a family, I'm just going to win everything. My head down, I don't even care about life. I want to win. And all I want to win is August 8th, 2008. You were there. I want to win. And so that kind of set up the next 4 years that was so gnarly and so intense. But Misty and I had a reckoning within all that, and we decided to come back together and do what never had been done before. And I think that reckoning, that period of time where we're like, should we, shouldn't we? I think it was really powerful and important for us because we then had to choose each other again. And once you decide, like for Misty and I, the decision is the most powerful part because we never look back.
That is so beautiful. And I didn't know that. Thank you so much for sharing that. That takes so much strength to share that part of your story. And we know so many women go through miscarriages, and to be so open about that just means so much. And I'm thinking, now knowing that, oh my gosh, how emotional it must have been for you fast forwarding 4 years to London and actually winning that third gold while being 5 weeks pregnant with Scout.
It was
I can't even imagine what that must have been like for you.
Well, it was so much. So we conceived my Joey in Beijing. and then my Joey was...
That's a gold medal celebration, folks.
Exactly. Sorry for TMI. But that was that. And I cried my eyes out being like, what did I do? Did I just ruin my career? Like, how lame is that? No, obviously I didn't. And then Joey was 3 months old, got pregnant with Sundance. So I have my little Irish twins, and then the journey to London happened. And so you fast forward, and that was a, like odyssey in itself, like so many little stories. But to get to London with my boys just turning, I think they were 2 and 3 at the time. At some point, I think it was after our second match, I realized I was pregnant. I didn't take a test, but you have the signs, so I realized I was pregnant. It was such a beautiful realization because I was so stressed and so sad. I'm like, this is my last tournament ever with Misty because she's retiring. Like, she's very clear she's retiring. And I was like so devastated, but so honored and just wanted to win. And I felt this kind of pressure, but I felt so confident. But then when I found out I was pregnant with Scouty, it cut the tension because I'm like, God, there literally is no losing here. Like, I'm here with my best girl, Misty. My babies are here, my man's here, and I'm pregnant. Like, this is so many dreams coming true right now in this moment.
Oh my gosh. And then, of course, a three-peat.
Yes.
Which is just unbelievable. And I know that must have meant so much to you, as you said, with Misty retiring. I heard this story, and I want to ask if it's true, that literally, like, in the celebrations of winning that gold medal, April, your soon-to-be partner, was there. And literally in the celebrations, you went over to her, hugged her, and said, it's going to be you and me in 2016, and we're doing this again.
So... Okay. It sounds like such an asshole move.
No, oh my gosh, no. It's amazing.
It's like a movie again.
Your drive and you're just, and I know we'll get into confidence because you've been so open about that, but just, your pure motivation, drive, and determination to just stay at the top is so powerful. It is so powerful. So I loved that story. I think it's absolutely incredible.
So I love it too because it was so sincere and it came out of nowhere. I'm like, what just came out of my mouth? So Misty and I win. We played April and Jen Kessie in the finals. All-American matchup, so stressful, but we were confident. We win, holy crap, Misty, we did it, tears, overwhelm. We go to say congratulations to the girls. I hug April and say, hey, let's go win gold in Rio.
Was she
I think she was she's got a little Misty in her where she doesn't express a lot, but I think she was like, yeah, right. Whatever. But it was crazy. But if you put yourself in Misty's shoes, which I found this out a year or two later, Misty was very hurt by that. And I was like, that hurts me that I hurt Misty. And then I'm like, but Miss, you retired, unretired, and totally we're going to retire again. And I'm like, I wouldn't even let go of your hand after we won because I didn't want this to end because I knew once this day was over, we were done. And I'm like, no. And I gave you everything. That was not me cheating on you, and it came out of nowhere, but I hurt her and that hurts me, And another thing that I know hurt Misty to a certain extent also was when I told her, I'm like, Miss, I think I'm pregnant in London. And she's like, well, am I supposed to be surprised? And I was like, maybe not. But, I think she was bummed that I would jeopardize us for that. And I was like, fuck, I didn't even think about it. I did my research, talked to my doctors. They say, plan your next pregnancy to be like your previous ones. My other two were like obnoxiously wonderful. And so I wasn't worried. And we tried to get pregnant, in July, and we did it a month before, So, but I hurt my girl, and totally, like, one of my least favorite things is to mess up, like, just to hurt someone so unintentionally.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
And it's just the worst. And you're like, no, but I was being so sincere. But I hurt her. And so that was a huge lesson for me, kind of in those games. And just Misty taught me so much just by the nature of being her. Because I just never want to hurt my partner. And I didn't involve her in every step of my, I'm like, I told my husband, I'm like, we're in Switzerland. Like, let's try. It's July.
You weren't like texting her. I mean, I text you.
I do get the text.
But like, you're not going to be like broadcasting like, hey, we're trying, which like, it can be personal information.
Yeah, which I don't care. I mean, I clearly have no secrets, but I didn't, it was just so casual, and it was like, let's just let it rip, and so, but we're very fertile and we're very blessed in that way, like most of my life, I'm so stressed. I'm like, shit, like, we're good. Got three babies. I'm good,
We're set.
But I think we were so blessed in like the timing of us getting pregnant with our boys and our daughter. But long story short, it made the London Games so incredibly special. And it was literally dream come true. Like for Misty and I, who I love her so much. Like I can cry on a dime talking about Misty. Like she just gave me so much. I learned so much. I love her so much. And without her, I wouldn't have met my husband, So it's like she just brought so much joy to my life. But so I hated hurting her, love winning with her, and now we're good. So
everyone is happy.
Good. Well, you brought up Rio. I mean, a thing I'm most interested in is how do you then make that transition? You said cheating on, like, it is truly a relationship. So I can't imagine not only going for your fourth, but also doing it with a completely different partner.
If you follow Katie and I at all, you know that we are obsessed with cold water immersion or cold plunging. My experience began as early as 12 years old when our moms would go to the closest gas station after a final session at a swim meet and fill up the hotel bathtub with as much ice as they could carry so we could recover and be our best the next day.
Now, thanks to Edge Theory, this experience couldn't be any easier or more available. They have created a cutting-edge, all-in-one portable ice bath and hot tub that can cool the water to 37 degrees or heat it to 105 degrees, all within 2.5 hours. It also has a state-of-the-art filtration and sanitation system, keeping the water clean and ready to use 24/7.
For me now, cold water immersion drastically increases my energy, especially when I need a boost halfway through the day after chasing around my 2-year-old all morning. And I've really been focused on lifting, and it really helps reduce my muscle soreness.
For me, it's about the mental clarity in the morning. It's the first thing I do. I love getting something really hard and challenging done out of the gate, and that dopamine rush is amazing.
So click the link in our show notes to learn more and get your Edge Theory cold sub today. As Olympians and elite athletes, Katie and I definitely understand the importance of sleep and recovery, but now just as a mom, as a professional, as podcast host, we still understand that sleep is so, so important. And we are incredibly thankful to one of our sponsors, Dream Recovery, for creating such incredible and impactful products that are science-backed to help you get the optimal night's sleep.
My favorite product is the Pink Dream Tape. I have not stopped wearing it since I put it on my mouth 6 months ago. It helps me fall asleep faster and gives me the best night's sleep I've ever had.
And for those of you that are a little hesitant about mouth taping, they just released mouth strips. So it's a little strip as opposed to the full tape. It has all the same benefits as a full piece of tape, but it's a little bit more of a segue for those who are a little bit nervous or are wanting to try out something. And I have been loving those.
So we've got a special code for you. It's code Unfiltered for 30% off your order and 50% off your first month subscription of Dream Tape. Sweet dreams.
Good night.
Yeah, well, I think it was easy because I knew what I was working with. Like, I knew Misty was going to retire, so my heart had a whole year to like grieve and enjoy and appreciate every moment, right? And that's important because that allows me to move on. And so I really took that last year with Misty to heart, and I milked it. for all of it, which felt really good. And I knew it wasn't the end of us. Like, Misty's in my life forever, But certainly it started to get me excited about what was next, because Misty was so clearly going to retire, and I was so excited for her to start a family and do her thing, So there was no sadness there to a certain extent. Sad because I missed my girl. But April, our volleyball pool is so small that you just get to know your competition. You get to know their heart and how they compete and how they speak. And April was such a no-brainer for me, to partner up with. I think we were very complimentary. Same drive for greatness, same drive for winning. We both like talking about winning, which a lot of athletes don't, and I really appreciate kind of the audacity and the courage it takes to put it out there, what you want to do. And April has all that. Clearly, like she's so amazing. And so moving on to April, although I miss Misty a lot, April was so easy and so fun. And she just loves being an athlete. She loves getting better. And it was easy, like as easy as it could be, for sure.
And you talk a lot about your experience in Rio, and how you're kind of changing the verbiage around the fact that you won your bronze medal and having to work around that. So maybe talk to us a little bit about that experience of, not making the gold medal match and then having to turn around, and that mentality of going, we may not have the opportunity to go for gold right now, but we do have the opportunity to go for bronze, and kind of how we approach this, our mindset going into it, is going to be the difference in whether or not we walk away from this Olympics with a medal.
Yeah. I mean, it was, I have so many questions for you guys in your sport. I mean, it's all so gnarly, right? No matter what the packaging is, like to miss out on a medal or a chance to compete for the medal rounds by 1/10 of a second? Like, are you kidding me? Like, shoot me. That is so intense to me. And having a qualifying where it's one event, like, come on. Like, that to me seems so unfair. But I get it. That's what you guys sign up for. And so you're equipped for that, right? I'm not. I'm equipped.
I don't know if I was always equipped for it, but you learn.
Yeah. Well, everything serves, right?
Yes.
It's just so wild. So we had an amazing Rio. Like, we were kicking ass. Like, we kicked ass in pool play. We kicked ass in the first 2 rounds of the, playoffs. Like, awesome. We're playing April and Kerri Volleyball. We were, top team in the world, not by ranking because they put the home team first. But we were the best team in the world. And then we get to the semifinal match and cruising. We're winning. I think it was, we were up late in the game, and then we lose game 1. And then game 2 is a repeat of game 1. And it was just so confusing, because it's like all the self-talk, all that, we got this, no worries, just focus, be here now, like I spell words, like I'm so in the moment, and I'm using every tool in the book, every skill in the book, because I was so aware and I was responding. I wasn't reacting, I was responding. Every tool I had ever learned about to get out of a funk I was using didn't happen. Like, it was such a nightmare. And so we lose to Brazil, the number 2 Brazilian team. And so we don't get to fight for gold. We get to fight for bronze. But after that loss, we played at I think it was 11 p.m. or midnight. Usually you're in bed by 3 after games like that, because you're so wired and whatever. After that game, because of the devastation, literally slept maybe 1 hour between after we played at midnight until the next time. And I think we played at 10 p.m. the next night. I had maybe 1 hour sleep, because I was so lost, walking in circles, crying, bawling. Like, my identity was I'm a gamer. And I had just lost the game, not only for my partner, April, our coaching staff, our country, because I had a bad game. Like, I had so much shame that it was just so overwhelming. I didn't know what to do with myself. And my husband, at some point, he really Casey, he has missed 2 Olympic games by this much, because he was a 3rd American team, top 10 in the world, but they only take 2 teams. So he's lived this to a certain extent, to all the extent, because, he's been in big matches. And he's like, babe, he's like, I love you so much. He's like, you gotta stop. Like, this is literally ridiculous. You've lost before. Like, you have the most beautiful chance to play tomorrow and to be who you say you are. You say you don't give up. You say you're resilient. You say you have all this character. And if you lose, you learn from it and you come back stronger. Do that. And remind yourself, you are an American. Like, you have all of America behind you. Think of your parents, think of your siblings, think of your babies. Like, it gives me chills. Like, my husband is so wise and so in the moment. And I was just so grateful for that, because he's like, you're right. Like, I'm feeling sorry for myself when there's a huge, beautiful opportunity tomorrow to kick ass, today to kick ass, you know? And so, although that didn't take away the pain or the shame, and the shame is the hardest part. Like, anyone carrying shame, like, it doesn't belong in us. It's false. It does not belong.
It rots you from the inside out.
Oh my God. It's so toxic. And literally, I think it's the most false thing in the world, because it's just this buildup of this demon inside of you, and you're not seeing the big picture. So anyway, I just want to put that out there, because if anyone is carrying that, I just encourage you to write it out, put it on paper, like shine a flashlight, shine a spotlight on it, because it doesn't belong in you. Get rid of it. And so anyhow, so it was just, it was crazy the 24 hours before, between matches. April and I, we had our video. We were very quiet. Our coach was telling us, how to beat the other team. And of course we listened. We were very focused, but we were numb. You're just numb. It was heartbreaking, literally heartbreak, And so we get to the match and we go through a good warm up. Our coach, I will never forget this, because it just was everything. He grabbed us and he was like, you guys, no matter what happens, whether you're up by 10 or getting your ass kicked, just stick together. Literally, just stick together. And I was like, of course, like, that's what we do. But, it was such a poignant thing to say. And so we get on the court, we're fighting for bronze, and we lose game 1. And it's like a repeat of the night before. It was like, what is happening? Like, I literally felt like there was a hex on me. I'm like, what? This is not who I am, and this is not who we are. We were busting our asses and scrapping and like cracking the egg, but like, we could not find a solution. And then halfway through game 2, where if Brazil wins, we're done. If we win, we have another chance for game 3. We're losing. And I think it was like 14-12, we're down, and April grabs me, and I'm going back to serve, and she's like, Kerri. I'm like, yeah. She's like, Kerri, and she makes me lock eyes with her. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Like, there was this feeling that I'm just like, I'm here, but I'm not, And it's like, it was such a powerful, like, Kerri. And she's like, let's go. All she said. And it was like, oh, okay. Like, let's go. And it gives me chills. And that moment, the next play, we made this huge play that changed the whole momentum. And then momentum is everything in sports, as you guys know. Yeah. And we used that. And then there was fear in their eyes, and we felt it. And then we just kept battling, kept doing what we do best, and we won. But it wouldn't have happened unless my husband or our coach was like, stick together, or April had the wherewithal to say, Kerri, be with me.
Come back.
And we did it, and we outlasted. And so that, to me, it was like, I can't compare. It's like comparing children. You cannot. It's like, should be illegal. But to diminish the meaning of winning this bronze because it wasn't gold is ignorant, and it's not true, because it was so powerful and so life-changing. And it set me up on this trajectory of playing in fear and shame for 3 years that I had to opportunity to work through it, but so painful. But it was such a blessing. And I was so grateful to April, an amazing partner, to my family, to our coaches. Like, it was so special, and we did it together. And the way I say we won bronze, because you lose to get silver in our game, right? Like, it's different than you guys, it's just different. And so it's like, I wonder how it feels to win silver. It's got to be so amazing on so many levels, but you lost your game,
I'll talk about, it's not fun. Yeah. Like, you're like bronze, because I've done, but like bronze is like, okay, I did my best. I stuck to it. That was the best I had. So I'm happy with that. Silver is like, especially I lost mine by 7/100. Silver is, I'm so close, I can taste it, but I'm not. Okay. And, and so I do feel like if you compare the two, silver is like the just there, but not. Bronze is like, I won a medal for my country. And it's such a different viewpoint on it. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Yeah, that's so intense. By 0.7 of a second.
7/100.
7/100. You're like, can you check the time again? Like, make sure you were correct. Because
is the touchpad faulty, or can we go back?
What is that? Like, give me a reference point for that. What is?
It's less than the blink of an eye. Like,
oh my!
You just did like 10 of them. Yeah.
That's so intense. Yeah. I mean, you guys are warriors. It requires a warrior spirit, and you guys know
It
that.
does.
And that's why I mean, it's not just in Olympians. It's like people who pursue their dreams, like who have
Yes.
that courage, who like, it's inevitable to fail. It's inevitable to fall short, to have your heart broken. But the people who keep showing up, whether it's like, a parent, like, or in your, like your business career, whatever it is, I just have so much respect for people with warrior spirits, because it's hard and you're putting yourself out there for heartbreak, and you're like, it's okay.
Yeah.
I really do believe the quote, like, if it's a calling in your heart, you're equipped to handle it. Like, I love that.
Yeah.
And obviously you guys are, I certainly am, even though it's hard, really hard.
Do you mind if you've talked about shame a couple times, and it's something that I've recently grappled with and had to kind of go deep and work through? You talked about 3 years of grappling with it. Do you mind sharing for people who are still in that space how you worked through it?
Man, it was so messy.
Yeah.
And I'm a doer, and it's like I'm always busy. And I remember my performance psychologist, and that's just, I think, part of my nature. Like, I'm a bumblebee. Like, I talk fast. Like, it's in my DNA. Like, I acknowledge that. But also, my performance psychologist was like, Kerri, sometimes people are busy because they don't want to sit with what they're carrying. And I was like, shit. I'm like, that's totally me, And so for me, the way it expressed itself was, instead of playing just to compete and compete freely to do my best, I started competing in fear of, oh my God, I've been exposed. Oh my God, I'm a failure. Oh my God, like all the worst case scenario things, which didn't exist in me before. This much it did. But it was just every game, every practice, I would judge myself, and then I always fell short, because, how do you win that battle? And so for me, I leaned on my performance psychologist, Michael Gervais. He has a podcast that's called Finding Mastery. He's incredible.
I didn't know he was your psychologist. Oh my gosh.
Kerri was who connected me to Michael.
Oh,
Yeah.
he actually reached out like 2 weeks ago to have me come on. I had no idea that was the connection. That's so cool.
He has a book that just came out, The First Rule of Mastery, something about other people's opinions, the fear of other people's opinions. He's incredible. You should go on his podcast. Have you been on, Missy?
I have, yeah,
Okay, good.
because I worked with him after you connected with us, and then I was a guest on his podcast. Yeah,
He's just the real
amazing.
deal. He helped save my marriage. He helped pull my head out of my butt after Rio. Like, he's just the real deal, And so I mean, it's kind of a cheat code, because I had someone like him who is so world class and so non-judgmental to share my soul with. But it really helped me to sit with him. It was not the silver bullet. Like, I had to live in real life and carry the shame and get sick of feeling weak and get sick of competing in fear and get sick of judging myself for me to be like, I'm done. But it took 3 years. And not that it's entirely done. I'm a woman. Like, I'm 45. I judge myself all the time. But I think having his support was huge. So I certainly recommend getting support from someone you love, trust, and who doesn't judge you. I think that's huge. And then for me, time in the saddle, working through it in real life was just my process, because I couldn't say, okay, I'm done. I had to live it, and I had experience. Okay, I tried that. I tried overhyping myself before a game. Didn't work. I didn't feel sincere. Like, I still played in fear and doubt. Like, let me crack the egg. So I just stuck with it. And then, but ultimately the final straw was, this is not who I am. And I don't deserve this. Like, I literally had one bad night. I don't deserve to like be on the cross every day, because I can't stand. I'm not, and my husband said this, Kerri, you are not above losing. And I was like, that's so, ow, but you're so right.
Yeah.
And it really hurt me. And I'm like, because of course I'm not, but I'm like, but I'm a winner, and I win, especially in big moments. And I just didn't in Rio, and it just really crushed me. So anyhow, now that I'm a mom of 3 kids, I'm so glad that I went through that, because everything they're going through, especially when it's hard, I'm like, you guys, I'm so excited for you.
They probably love that.
But there's truth to it. Like, I thank God for the heartache in my life. Thank God for these, blessings in disguise. Like, it's just all part of life. And I fundamentally believe that we go through hard things because our soul is calling for us to grow. And you have to go through friction. You have to go through resistance, through hard times to grow, and under pressure. And so for me, now that I've been through a lot of challenging things, I'm like, God, I love you. I love growing. Can I grow through the questions I ask instead of failures I have?
Is that an option
Like,
I can choose?
That'd be an option.
So after going through all of that work, which it's so amazing to hear from just human beings like you who've been through so much, and Katie and I are such huge advocates with that kind of work is so hard, but some of the most important work that you will ever do. And then getting to Tokyo Olympics, it getting postponed a year, as you mentioned in the beginning, ending up not qualifying for the team. How did that work help you in going through all of that?
Oh man, what a question. I mean, in every single way, like my history is my history, and I take all the lessons and the pain and the love, with me as I go. And so when COVID happened and they decided to stop things for a year, I was like, amazing. Like I get to be home with my kids, and get strong and get focused. Like it was, at the time, it was like the biggest gift, and then when things started opening up, that's when things got really hard for me. Because, and I thought I was tough enough to handle it, but like, right. No one had ever run through a global pandemic like this before. Right. And I had been doing so much research, like, okay, if I'm going on the road, I need to know exactly what this is, like how to protect my babies, what they can do, can't do. Cause I'm going to go travel the world and be gone for weeks at a time when my soul is going to be at home. Right. And so I went down so many rabbit holes, which to me felt so empowering. But ultimately, by the time I had to travel, I could not handle both. Like, it's like my whole worldview had shifted. I had so much fear, not of COVID, because in my mind, it's a flu and it's a sickness, and you fortify yourself. So when you get sick, your body can handle it, like I believe in our immune systems. And so I just loaded my kids with all the good stuff. But with all the requirements and the questions and the masks, I was like, how am I leaving my kids traveling the world, to pursue my dreams, and they're at home being vulnerable? And I thought education would empower me. It crushed me. And so I really believe to win gold, you have to be laser focused, right? Like it's just helpful. And I was laser focused on that and laser focused on keeping my kids safe. And I couldn't do both. I couldn't. Like, I just lost myself. And I literally played at a different kind of fear. I wasn't afraid of losing. I wasn't afraid of any of that. I had already lived my worst nightmare, which is a gift because to survive it. But I couldn't handle the stress and the sadness of me worrying about my children, my husband, my whole family, the whole world, and pursuing this dream that didn't feel trivial, but it just felt like I was in two places at once, and you're not going to do well there. Does that make sense?
So, yes, it does, 100%. Yeah. And I think even just the acceptance that you had of I can't do both.
And that's okay.
That's so powerful to reach that point, right?
I just accepting.
Yeah, right. I know. And that's so hard. So what was your solution? Going through all of that, where did you end up and how?
Well, I'm pretty dense, Missy. So I thought I could do it. And we were like, Brooke and I, we were the number 2 team in America. Like, we were on our way. And then, but we did not have one good tournament in 2021 in the lead up. So we basically had January to June to keep our spot or to lose it. And we lost it. And I have to take a lot of responsibility there because I couldn't do what I thought I could do. Like, I tried so hard and I was so present, and Brooke and I, we had a lot of challenges as a team, which normally happens. And I don't know. I couldn't handle it as powerfully as I thought I could. And I feel like I let Brooke down. I let myself down, but I believed we could do it. And it came down to the last tournament where we got knocked out in qualifying. And our dreams were over in a heartbeat, but we were not good. We were not good that year. And so it hurt my heart to have lost that game and lost on the chance, but it did not hurt my heart that we weren't going to the games because we weren't deserving. We were not playing well. And at that point, I didn't want to make the games because of our prior year was good enough. I really do believe, I don't believe in peaking. I believe in it's this, your whole life. And and so when people just focus their whole lives around one tournament winning, I'm like, I don't understand that. That gives me no confidence. I want to win and win and win, or battle until I get the Olympics. But we fell short. And so when we didn't make it, it made so much sense to me. not only because I was playing less than I think I was capable of because of the conflict, and no excuses, I just wasn't playing well, but we weren't playing well as a team. And the other team that passed us was kicking ass. So to me, it's like, go get them. I don't want to go just to go. I want to go and win. So we're not that.
I feel like, and I'm not a mom yet, so you can probably speak to this, but you're sharing kind of this conflict that I feel like most moms that I talk to go through of this, okay, I want to be the best mom ever for my kids. I want to protect them, but I have a career that I also want to win at and conquer and be amazing. So was there mom guilt, or what was the feeling that you were having to grapple with the whole time?
It was no. Okay. So mom guilt for sure real. I respect it. I think it's a beautiful position to be in because you have two things that you love that you want to do well at. Like, that's beautiful. Right. And for me, I never felt like I was sacrificing to a certain extent because this is my choice. How can I feel like I'm sacrificing and this is my choice? I'm not a victim here. I'm choosing to be a mama, to be in a marriage, and to go pursue my dreams. And to me, the stronger I could be, the more on purpose I can be in my life as an individual, the better I can serve my family, even if it means, I'm gone, and it puts hardships. Like it just mattered to me enough. And my family situation was good enough and strong enough where I felt comfortable. Right. And so that's one thing. But this 2021, like that was different because I was worried for their well-being. I that was a new variable. And I was worried for the well-being of my parents. And, and I'm like, what if when we go to Mexico and we get stuck there for a month? Like, there were just question marks that I'm like, this feels wrong to a certain extent, but worth it because I want this and I believe Brooke and I can do it. You know what I'm saying? So it was just this antagonist that it was kind of like, again, death by 1,000 paper cuts. And it's like we were always treading water and swimming upstream instead of like going with the flow, and I think I caused a lot of that because of how I was framing these things. I can control my little world at home when you can't, and then I can go and chase these dreams. But I guess I was conflicted. I don't know if there's a better word for that, but it was hard.
And gosh, having that conflict, I mean, I love the way you phrase that of mom guilt. I've never heard that before as what a privilege it is to have two things that you love or more. And, and instead of looking at it as, a hardship of figuring out how you're going to balance them, which it is hard. It is absolutely hard. But just having that perspective, I think, is so powerful of like, how fortunate am I to have so many different things that I love and have the opportunity to do. I think that in and of itself, we can validate that the experience itself can absolutely be hard, and also understand that a perspective can have such a big impact on how you look at those things and those experiences. So moving forward, after 2021, I know there was some talk of, you partnering, coming back potentially for Paris. You dealt with surgeries. So
maybe smile right now.
I know. I'm like, just walk us through even like the last 2 or 3 years, and then what you're doing right now and what your plans are for the future.
Well, this is the fun part because life continues to unfold in magical ways because I'm not like a forward thinker. Right? Like I win a gold medal, I want to win the next. And I know that in that moment. And then I go but I don't plan like in 8 years, I want to do this, So it's been so fun. Since COVID, we left Manhattan Beach and we moved to Lake Tahoe. So we live in Nevada.
Amazing.
We went from crazy LA where it's just during COVID, it was scary. We moved to this little town, to this little village in Tahoe, and we've been so safe and wonderful here. So it's been great being here. And I made the decision at some point, I'm like, I just can't imagine retiring not as a 4-time gold medalist. Like, I want 4, So I was like, okay, I want to go. Like, this is crazy and I want to do it. And so I made the decision to go, which is hard because it required me traveling every single Monday to LA. I would leave on the 6:00 in the morning flight and I would come back Friday after training. Wow. And so I would be gone like Monday through Friday. Gnarly. Wow. And, but it was worth it. My husband I think for the first time he's like, fine. Like other times he's like, yes, go. But now he's like, it's gnarly. Like what he has done the past 20 years, I mean, I guess 15 since our baby's like gnarly. My husband's a champion. And so anyhow, so I decided I want to go. I started traveling to California, had no partner, had no idea what I was going to do. I had this wild thought of connecting with Logan Tom. I don't know if you guys remember her from the indoor world. She's a 4-time Olympian, 2-time silver medalist. She was
And you guys played together at Stanford, is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. She was a freshman when I was a senior at Stanford. And our first Olympic Games, we played together. She was the phenom star at 19 in Sydney. And so I'm like, it just made sense. I'm like, well, I want a fairy tale ending. And if I'm going to go back, I want it to be with someone I have depth and history with and who I love and respect so much. And I want to win. And Logan's a champion. And so anyhow, I had this whole story in my head, right? And so Logan's living in Israel, in love, like getting her master's coaching. And I'm like, hey, Lo, would you want to come out here? She's like, you are batshit crazy, but yes, I'll come out. and so she comes out and we're like, okay, let's give this a go. And so we start training and it's just hard. Everything's hard. You know, Logan's going from indoor where she's best in the world to beach, different. Even though she had a good history in it, it's just different. And so we weren't a good fit, which is like, God, that's so weird. Because in my mind, it was like divine. Like it all made sense. Like God is saying, go Logan, do this together. But it didn't work out. And so it was interesting when I realized it wasn't working out. I thought that would be like, okay, I'm done. Like, I don't want to try to qualify, you know, because it's not with Logan. It's not with someone I have, you know, roots with. But this other young, amazing human, Zana Muno, she caught my eye and she's a defender and she's a badass and she's hungry. And I called a lot of the players actually. And they were like, no, we're good. Cause I was like, I just would like to see how it feels on the court with you. And they already had partnered up and no one wanted to take the risk of trying out, you know, in case it didn't work out. Hurt my ego every single call. I was like, well, you guys are dumb, but ow.
Missed opportunity by you.
They're all idiots, but I respect it and whatever. Because they're not. You know, I'm 45 and I had 6 shoulder surgeries and you just never know, you know? Mm. And so I totally understand it. But at the same time, if you know, whatever, there's lots of thoughts there. But they turned out to be genius because after a couple months of training with Zana, I had this major ankle thing and it had been going on for 4 months, like ever since I started training with Logan. I thought it was a pinched nerve in my back that kind of went down, you know, to my peroneal nerve because I'd had that before. So I told myself another story and I trained on this ankle for over 4 months. That was horrific. Right before our first tournament, I'm like, I got to go get imaging. And for months, my husband's like, go get it checked out. I'm like, no, it's just a pinched nerve. Like, I got it. I'm getting better. He's like, you're an idiot, but okay. And so finally, I go get imaging and my whole lateral side of my ankle is gone. Like torn, like multiple ligaments and muscles torn. And I'm like, how am I playing on this? Like, this makes no sense. And so I was like, no worries, let me get surgery and I'll be back, you know, and it makes it harder to qualify, but totally possible because Zana's awesome. I'm hungry. I have, you know, my history behind me, but it has just been, it's almost a year now and it's been the slowest recovery. I'm a very good healer and this has been so gnarly and so intense and so humbling. And I'm just not back yet. Like I can't even jump yet. And it's been almost a year, you know? And so within all this, obviously, like you were focused on healing and other things come into your life because, you know, I'm not going to sit still. And there's so many beautiful opportunities that have come. I came to the realization probably, I don't know how long ago, but that I was not going to, you know, try for this quad. And I had asked God, I was like, God, if I'm not meant to do this, please make it very clear. Like not a whisper, like I need you to scream at me and I need
a sign, like an LED flashing bright sign.
Yes, exactly. And this was that, you know, and I was like, please make it gentle because if there was this much hope, I was going to hold on to it. Like, that's just the way I'm wired. You know, because I was very thoughtful about the decision. But also I want to say one other thing is that when I was contemplating it, I reached out to Tony Robbins. Are you guys familiar with Tony?
Yes.
He's like so incredible. And I left him a voice note on Instagram and he's always responding. He's always incredible. It's like shocking to me because he's so Tony Robbins. I was like, hey, Tony, you know, I'm debating on going back. But it feels like a big sacrifice because I'll be leaving my kids. The world's still weird. Like, I would love your advice. He was so incredible. He, you know, responded immediately on this voice note. And he's like, Kerri, he's like, I'm calling bullshit. You're afraid. Like, if you're calling this a sacrifice, you're not going to win. Like, you're afraid. Like, acknowledge what's behind this. and he's like, that's not what champions do. That's not going to set you up for success. So if this feels like a sacrifice, that's your answer, And so I sat with that for like a year, and I was like, I mean, that's so true. Cause I've never, ever, ever, not once seen anything in my life as a sacrifice. Not once.
Yeah.
And then the moment I started doing that because of my kids and COVID, and I just made that choice to see it as a sacrifice, I felt inherently weaker. Which I don't want to do anything out of weakness, because you're not setting yourself up for success, So that was a very poignant moment. I sat with it for a long time, and I still decided to proceed. And then, it's unfolded the way it's unfolded. So this certainly, Paris has not been my cards to go and compete. I'm going to go out there and create content. And if you guys are out there, I'm going to harass you to do some fun stuff.
Oh, we would love nothing
Are you
more.
out there?
Fingers crossed.
We're
We
fingers,
will be there
fingers
too.
crossed, arms crossed, legs crossed. Yeah.
NBC or with what?
We'll see. We ultimately are trying to get over there in any capacity that allows us to be there. But I'm sure, like for us, being able to actually be on scene at an Olympic Games, you never take that for granted. That is such a gift to be able to go and experience that. And so if we could do it with the podcast, I know both of us would just be over the moon.
Okay. Well, let's talk, because I'm getting creative with it.
Okay.
And I just decided I'm going, and I know it's all going to fall in.
I love that.
I know.
I literally booked my apartment yesterday, booked my apartment.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so now I'm going to hustle, and I'm going to go talk to the brands. I've been talking to NBC. I'm going to talk to other distributors, say, hey, let me deliver you a little piece of content every day. Put me on your network or your platform, and I'll cover cost, and let's do that. But on the flip side, I'm going to hopefully work with brands and make some money and win-win. So that's the recipe, if that sounds interesting to you guys, because ladies, LA is in America, obviously in 2028. And I want to get this going before LA. So
Yes.
Oh, could not agree more. Okay, we'll definitely chat.
Yes.
Oh, but that's so amazing. And we could, honest to goodness, talk to you for 10 hours. We could be here all day. We know we've already gone way over normal time, but we will end with our final 3 questions that we ask every single one of our guests. So the first one is, what is the moment within the sport of beach volleyball that has brought you the most amount of joy?
Shoot. Well, this sounds so cheesy, but I'm such a journey girl. That's hard to pick a moment.
I know.
Because the becoming is my favorite part.
That can be your answer.
Yeah, that can be your answer. That's no one's answered that so far, by the way.
Well, because I feel like they have to answer your question, which is so hard.
No, I think that's so beautiful that the becoming was your joy.
100%. I mean, no matter what, whether it was the worst thing in front of me or the best thing, everything serves me. And so, the becoming was everything.
Oh, that is such a Kerri answer. This is why you're my hero.
I wonder if you'll answer the same to this question. So the same question, what's a moment or memory outside the sport of volleyball that's brought you the most joy?
I keep having them.
Oh, gosh.
I'm going to cry. I just had one the other day where I was like, oh my God, this is so amazing. Because growth is so fun, and growing together is so fun. And my husband and I had a moment, not to give you TMI, but it's been hard. Life is hard, right? And relationships are hard, and it requires so much, and you love so much. And, it's just so things have been challenging. And then my husband, there was something that I was hesitant to talk to him about, because I didn't want to rock the boat. I didn't want to hurt feelings. I didn't want to do something counter than I thought he believed in. And I held it for 3 weeks. But my projection was he's not going to understand me. And I got the courage, but it didn't feel right. Obviously, he's my man. He's my everything. And so I got the courage, and after this, 3-week saga of living this drama, and he had no idea I was going through this. I was like, babe, we need to talk. And I brought it up, and he was so incredible. Oh. And it was just, I was like, God, what a hypocrite. I projected onto him that he would have this response, and I was the one projecting, when he was the total opposite. And so for me, whether it's on the court or off the court, moments like that where you're reminded, or you just remember how just how important it is to be sincere, but to like step up. Like my friend says, seek the fight. Doesn't mean I'm going to go like look for people to like beat up, but it's like seek the fight in your life. Like what's the challenge in your life? Step up to it, you know? And so for this one, for me and my husband, it was just such a moment of wanting to be connected, but feeling disconnected, feeling nervous to say something, saying something. And I was received in the most beautiful way. Like that's such a win.
So powerful. And seeking the fight and knowing what's worth fighting for.
Yeah.
Totally.
Oh gosh, I love that. And I love that too, because it's like, it's a small moment that was a big moment.
Huge.
And those are the moments that can often be so defining. So thank you so much for sharing that. I loved it. And our final question, I don't want this to end, is if you could pick one word that encompasses where you are in your life right now, something that you're working on, or a goal moving forward, what would that word be for you and why?
I love words.
We do too. We're big on words.
Well, my favorite word, this is not my answer, is abracadabra, which you guys know means I create as I speak.
Yes.
Know that?
I actually didn't know that.
It's incredible. So watch what you say, because you're literally creating your environment, your life. Like I believe that with all my heart. But I would have to say, like, part of me wants to say alignment, because to me, like the strength that comes with alignment, miracles happen, like doors open, like it all works out. But I'm not in alignment yet. I'm working my way there. I would just have to say blessed, because that's undeniable. And I just, my people, my babies, my man, the potential I'm working with and my team around me, like blessed.
That's so special. Well, I mean, you have your amazing husband in Casey, your 3 beautiful children. You're still doing so much for the sport and also outside of the sport. And I know your legacy is going to just continue to glow even brighter. Even if you never step foot on a sand volleyball court again, there's so much left for you to do and to inspire and empower. And we are so thankful for you. To walk through your Olympic journey with you is honestly a dream come true for me. Like this conversation has been absolutely incredible. And we are so thankful for your time coming on our podcast and for continuing to be a role model, not just for us, but for everyone listening and everyone who's ever looked up to you. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
Kerri.
They say don't meet your idols or like get to know your idols because you'll be disappointed. Like couldn't be further from the truth.
Meet them and have them on your podcast.
And have them on your podcast and have an hour and a half long conversation and love them even more.
I mean, I don't want to shatter illusions, so maybe we won't hang out in Paris. But you girls are awesome, and I'm grateful. And I have so many questions for you guys. Like, it's so hard for me not to ask you guys questions throughout this conversation, so please know that. But you guys are awesome, and I'm proud of you. And I also am very inspired by you ladies and what you're doing in your life. And I just wish you the best. And I'm always here if I can serve. But I will. I look forward to seeing you guys in Paris. I can't wait.
Thank you
so
much.
much.
Keep kicking ass.
Likewise.
Thank you so much for listening and watching Unfiltered Waters. We are so grateful for your support. If you could please hit that subscribe button on any of the channels that you're watching and maybe even give us a rating or review, we would appreciate it so much. Thank you again, and we'll talk to you soon.